Tonight something massive is shaking Hollywood, and it has nothing to do with premiere spotlights or red carpets, because a new filing from Justin Baldoni just flipped the entire Blake Lively narrative upside down, and the shockwaves are hitting faster than anyone expected. Insiders are calling this the moment everything changed. The moment the footage, the texts, and the hidden details finally came into the light. And trust me, once you hear what was uncovered, you will not look at this case the same way again, because this is the twist no one saw coming tonight. Hollywood finds itself holding its breath as a wave of revelations begins to roll through the industry. In the center of that storm is Justin Baldoni, stepping forward with a detailed account that is shaking the foundations of everything people thought they understood about his work with Blake Lively and Reynolds. And from the very first moment these new filings surfaced, insiders started whispering that this was not just another disagreement on a film set, but something far deeper and far more complicated. A story that unraveled in private hallways, quiet rooms, and text conversations that were never meant to see daylight. And it all begins with the now infamous on-set moments where Blake and Justin filmed the rooftop scene that has since become a focal point of the entire legal dispute. And according to the documents, Justin says Blake improvised additional kisses, repeating them take after take in ways that were never written into the script, raising questions about how these choices would later evolve into claims framed very differently in the lawsuit she filed months later. And this contradiction is what people across Hollywood are talking about, because the idea that improvised physical moments could later be reframed as uncomfortable scripted requirements changes everything. And when Justin submitted the video evidence showing the behind-the-scenes context, it immediately sent a ripple of confusion and disbelief through the studios, the media, and the public, who began asking how such footage fits with the narrative that Blake pushed forward. And as the situation grew more complex, whispers turned into full conversations, and those conversations soon pointed toward the private penthouse meeting where Justin says Reynolds confronted him for hours in a conversation that left him emotionally drained, shaken, and overwhelmed, describing an environment where this pressure grew heavier with every passing minute. And what happened inside that room became the turning point for Justin, because after leaving that meeting, he texted his close friend, explaining that he felt mentally frozen, like his voice had been taken away, and that feeling would shape the emotional weight of everything that followed. And as more details emerged, the focus subtly shifted away from the public image of Blake and Ryan, a couple known for humor, charm, and polished appearances, to the private reality described in documents where Justin recounts feeling cornered, talked down to, and pressured in ways that made him question his own instincts. And for many observing from the outside, this contrast between public smiles and private conflict created a sense of suspense, because the deeper people looked, the more contradictions appeared, and those contradictions only intensified when the depositions from Wayfair team members emerged, outlining their own experiences during production, including moments with Blake that were later reinterpreted in ways none of them expected. And this is where the birthing video questioning enters the picture, a moment that many in Hollywood quietly called unsettling, as Blake's legal team pressed Justin's producing partner Jaime with detailed questions about a private family recording, trying to frame it through a lens that did not match the way the moment was originally created or shared. And Jaime's calm response that the video was a family moment, not something uncomfortable or inappropriate, stood out, because it highlighted how a normal part of his life was suddenly being interrogated in a way that felt disconnected from reality. And then came the makeup trailer moment, which grew into one of the most debated parts of the case, of Jaime explaining that he was invited inside by Blake herself, who assured him it was fine to enter while she was breastfeeding or pumping, and instructed him to simply look away while they quickly discussed scheduling. And it was only months later, after the lawsuit was filed, that he learned she had since interpreted the event completely differently. And for many watching this unfold, the timing raised serious questions about how perceptions had shifted so dramatically, and why these Interpretations emerged long after the events took place and deeper. Still, the narrative gained another layer when Blake's legal team attempted to box Justin into loaded statements during his deposition, asking whether he supports women and whether he believes in listening to women who speak out, attempting to create a no-win scenario where any answer could be twisted if taken out of context, and it quickly became clear that this was not an effort to explore facts but an effort to corner him into statements that would later be used to craft a public narrative. And yet, despite the pressure, Justin stayed focused on the evidence, the timelines, and the concrete details rather than opinions or assumptions, and that is ultimately what his legal team brought into the summary judgment motion that triggered this new Hollywood-wide conversation, because where Blake's claims center around how she says she felt or what she believed, Justin's filings focus on videos, texts, written communications, and eyewitness accounts that challenge those feelings and reveal a different perspective entirely. And that difference between emotion and documentation is why studios, reporters, and industry insiders leaned in with curiosity and caution as more pieces of the story emerged. And one of the most talked about pieces involves the way Blake Legedly used her celebrity circle to influence decisions during production, a detail that blindsided many in Hollywood as they read through the documents, because the names mentioned were not small background figures but major stars with enormous influence, including Taylor Swift, Hugh Jackman, and director Sean Levy. And according to the filings, Blake would message and consult with her famous friends, sometimes referring to them playfully as her dragons, as she pushed for edits, rewrites, and creative decisions that shifted the film more toward her personal preferences and less toward Justin's original vision. And this became especially clear when the music choices came under scrutiny, with Justin explaining that Blake worked directly with Taylor to secure a specific song she wanted, even though Justin believed it clashed with the tone he had planned for the film. And these revelations left many asking how much of the movie was shaped by creative collaboration and how much by the influence of a celebrity network powerful enough to override the director. And then the questions grew louder when it was revealed that Justin's creative credits were changed. His film by designation was removed. He was cropped out of trailers and posters, and the cast unfollowed him on social media, all at the same time raising alarms about whether this was a coincidence or something coordinated behind the scenes. And Justin himself expressed in his deposition that by the final stretch of production, he felt removed from his own movie, like he was being pushed out of the creative process entirely. And that emotional weight, combined with the earlier confrontation in the penthouse, left him feeling trapped and unable to speak up. And yet, even in that confusion, he continued striving to finish the film, maintain professionalism, and protect the project he had poured years of effort into. But the pressure continued building until the lawsuit was filed. And the moment that document went public, the narrative shifted again, because the claims within it did not match the footage or the earlier messages, and that mismatch is what ultimately led Justin to request that all text messages between him and Blake be unsealed so that the full context could be seen, rather than selective fragments. And this request created a new wave of tension, because Blake's team quickly moved to seal those same messages, arguing they should remain confidential, a surprising move given that partial versions had already been shared publicly when they benefited her. And this contrast between selective disclosure and sudden privacy raised concerns among observers who wondered what the unedited messages might reveal about the dynamic between Blake and Justin, or about her conversations with her celebrity friends. And as the judge reviews the request to unseal the text, the entertainment world is holding its breath, because insiders say those private messages could change everything and may even reshape the public understanding of what happened across months of filming, meetings, messages, and misunderstandings. And at the heart of all this lies the central question that keeps surfacing in quiet studio offices and industry conversations: what really happened behind the scenes, and why do the documented events seem so different from the narrative that first reached the public eye, and well, no one can answer that question fully. Yet the filings, the testimonies, and the newly exposed timeline are painting a picture that is far more complex than anyone expected, and with every passing day more people in Hollywood are watching this case unfold. Because whoever is proven right in the end, the ripple effects will reach far beyond one film, one set, or one lawsuit. And that suspense is what has everyone waiting for: the next reveal, the next filing, and the next truth that comes to light. As the Hollywood world continues to process the new filings, the focus has shifted to the larger implications of what Justin Baldoni has revealed, because now the story is not just about one film, one director, or one actress. It is about power, influence, and control within the entertainment industry, and how public perception can be so carefully managed that the truth can hide in plain sight. And insiders say the Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds story is a textbook example of that dynamic, because on the surface the couple projects charm, humor, and relatability in commercials, interviews, and social media posts, but behind the scenes, the documents paint a far different picture, one where influence is wielded to achieve specific goals, control narratives, and sideline those who do not comply. And according to the filings, Justin Baldoni experienced this firsthand as he watched his creative input systematically minimized or ignored, while Blake leveraged both her personal influence and her network of celebrity friends to reshape the production in ways that suited her vision. And the strategic pressure was not subtle, it was methodical, with every step documented through emails, texts, and witness statements, showing a clear pattern of intervention and manipulation that went beyond normal collaboration and a territory insiders described as coercive. And yet, despite this, Justin remained professional. He continued working to finish the film, ensure the crew was supported, and protect the story he had set out to tell. But the tension only escalated as he encountered moments like the rooftop scene and makeup trailer incident, which were later weaponized against him in ways he could never have anticipated. And for many in Hollywood, the most shocking element is the discrepancy between these documented events and the public narrative that Blake Lively presented. Initially, a narrative that painted Justin as the aggressor, uncomfortable, or inappropriate, when the actual footage and testimonies suggest the opposite. And the gap between the two has sparked heated discussions across the industry about accountability, image management, and the use of celebrity influence in legal disputes. And while social media commentators debate the ethics of these actions, industry insiders are speaking quietly but pointedly, noting that this case could have a lasting impact on how directors and creative professionals navigate productions involving high-profile actors. Because the fear of being publicly maligned or professionally sidelined has now become tangible and real, and that reality is reflected in the testimonies that detail how Justin felt emotionally paralyzed after confrontations that lasted hours, leaving him unable to form sentences or assert his perspective. And that emotional pressure is mirrored in the way Blake allegedly coordinated with her circle of friends, including Taylor Swift, Hugh Jackman, and Sean Levy, consulting with them about edits, music choices, and overall production decisions to apply indirect pressure on studios and collaborators. And that coordination has led many insiders to call this a case study in Hollywood power dynamics, because it shows how personal relationships and celebrity status can influence creative decisions and alter the outcome of a project in ways that have little to do with talent, vision, or merit. And when the unsealed texts and emails are eventually reviewed, the full picture is expected to clarify just how strategically Blake leveraged her connections to advance her goals, and how Justin's role as director was undermined repeatedly despite his efforts to maintain authority and professional composure. And that undermining is detailed in the filings, as including removal of his credits, alteration of promotional materials, erasure from trailers, and coordinated social media actions designed to isolate him professionally. And these tactics, while not illegal, raise ethical questions about the limits of influence in collaborative creative environments, and the responsibilities of studios and producers to protect the integrity of a project and the well-being of those involved. And as the filings show, Blake's narrative also relied on emotional framing, invoking feelings of discomfort and fear that are contradicted by timestamps, footage, and witness statements, highlighting her initiative in on-set interactions, the repetition of improvised actions, and her coordination with friends, which calls into question the consistency and reliability of her claims. And in legal analysis, this contrast between subjective feeling and documented action is significant, as The dust settles on the explosive revelations surrounding Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively, and Ryan Reynolds. Hollywood is witnessing a story that goes far beyond a single film or a single lawsuit, because what has emerged is a glimpse into power, influence, and control in one of the most high-profile industries in the world, and the contrast between public perception and private reality could not be starker. Justin's filings, meticulously documenting footage, texts, emails, and witness statements, reveal a man who was professional, creative, and dedicated, yet faced pressures, manipulation, and strategic sidelining that no director should endure. And meanwhile, the public narrative, carefully crafted by Blake Lively and amplified by celebrity influence, is now being questioned because the evidence paints a more complex, nuanced, and at times contradictory picture. And as industry insiders analyze the filings and the potential unsealing of key messages, the suspense continues to build, because these documents could reshape reputations, careers, and how Hollywood views collaboration, influence, and accountability. And while the story is still unfolding, the lesson is clear: facts, evidence, and transparency ultimately prevail over narrative manipulation and selective storytelling. And for viewers and insiders alike, the unfolding saga serves as a stark reminder that behind the red carpets, social media posts, and smiling faces, there are dynamics of power, control, and influence that can dramatically impact careers, projects, and the people involved. And the world is watching to see what comes next.